Greetings and welcome back to Monday Fire, your 5 to 7 minute spark of hope, truth, and motivation to kick off your week. You with your girl Nikki, also known as the Rev, and today we have something that's near and dear to my heart. We're talking about obstacles and how we can overcome those obstacles. And so, for all of us, today's word is for everyone who's ever stared down a wall and wondered, God, how am I supposed to get through this? How am I supposed to get through this? Let me tell you something. What looks like a barrier might actually be a bridge. And so today our word is coming from Romans 8:28. And the word of God reads in this way. And we know that God causes everything to work together for the good of those who love God and are called according to his purpose for them. And we know that should be the tagline. And we know what feels like an obstacle might be the setup for your next open door. That's good news for us all today. Even though we might be going through some things, God causes all things to work together. Let me tell you something. What looks like a barrier might actually be a bridge that you and I need. Some of you are frustrated because it feels like life has you boxed in. You've prayed, you've worked, you've believed, and yet nothing seems to be moving. But I came by this morning, dropped by this morning to remind us all today that God wastes nothing. Every obstacle you're facing is being woven into his purpose. Your obstacle is your opportunity. That's our first point. Your obstacle is your opportunity. See, when we often pray for open doors, but sometimes God allows obstacles to build you before he blesses you. Romans 8:28 reminds us, it says, doesn't say everything is good. It says God works it together for good. That means the this, the that, the things over here, the things over there, all of that, God is working it together. That means even the pain, the delay, the disappointment, God's got it all under construction. Let's look at Joseph's story. Joseph had an obstacle called a pit, another called a prison, but those were just stops on the way to the palace. What felt like a detour was really direction. See, this week, when something tries to block you, stop and ask God, what are you building in me through this? Because sometimes your biggest obstacle is the training ground for your next testimony. Well, I think we missed our shout right there because sometimes the biggest storms in our life are the training ground for our next testimony. It teaches us how to pray. It teaches us how to rely and depend on God. It teaches us how to stay in his presence. It teaches us how to meditate, pick up our word and meditate on his word. That's what the training ground is all about. It builds our character and it builds our faith. So I came by to tell someone today that no matter the things that we are experiencing, not even just this shutdown, but the things that are going on in our personal lives, whether it's our health or different things in our family, this is the training ground. This helps us to become better prayer warriors. It helps us to learn to lean and depend on Jesus. Our next point today is God's purpose will always outlast your problem. Ooh, that made me want to shout right there. God's purpose will always outlast your problem. You might be facing sickness, loss, or even uncertainty right now, but God's purpose hasn't changed. His purpose hasn't changed during this season of 2025 when we've went through so much in these last 9 months. God's purpose still hasn't changed. That means his purpose still outweighs and will outlast the problems, the uncertainty that you and I will face. You see, when Paul wrote Romans 8:28, he wasn't on vacation. He was under persecution himself, yet he said, we know Not we think, not we hope, not we wish, but we know. We know. We know that God's going to turn it around. We know that He's a provider. We know that He's a waymaker. We know that He's all and all. Everything we need, we know. That's the kind of faith that says, even when it hurts, I still believe that God is working. Your situation might not look like a setback, but it's actually a setup for divine acceleration. See, we need to declare these things over our life, that our problems are temporary, but our purpose will always be eternal. See, when we believe that, we stop panicking and start praising, even in the middle of the obstacle. We have to remember that praise is our weapon. And that brings us to our final point today. What looks like a wall might actually be your door. Let's be real. Sometimes God hides open doors behind obstacles to test your perseverance. Remember the Israelites? They faced the Red Sea, an impossible obstacle. But what did God do? He turned the obstacle into a pathway. When you feel trapped, remember, God specializes in impossible situations. He's the God who parts seas. He's the God that breaks chains. He's the God that opens doors no man can shut. He's the God who makes a way out of no way. So don't quit too soon. What if your next prayer, your next step of faith is the key that opens the door you've been waiting on? Family, this is our final push today. Listen, every obstacle you're facing right now is either developing your faith or deepening your trust or directing your steps. So don't curse what's challenging you. Thank God for it because He's using it to push you toward your destiny. God, I don't know how I'm going to make it, but I thank you because I know that you're going to make it. I don't understand, God, but I know that your ways are not my ways. See, when life throws up walls, lift up your praise. When things fall apart, trust that God is piecing them together. Because sometimes the hardest seasons birth the greatest breakthroughs. Say this with me, and this is our declaration. What's meant to block me will build me. My obstacle is my opportunity. I am walking through every wall because God works all things for my good. You can't control every obstacle, but you can control your outlook. And when your outlook is faith filled, even obstacles become evidence that God is still in control. I just want to tell somebody no matter what it looks like, I just want us to remember we know that God causes all things to work together. That's your Monday fire. Now go out there, face that wall, and watch God turn it into your next open door. Stay strong, stay grounded, stay on fire. You with your girl, Nikki, also known as the Rev. God bless you.